Today we're going to field strip or disassemble and reassemble a Ruger SR22 22 long rifle pistol for cleaning purposes. So first we want to remove the magazine and lock the slide to the rear. Make sure there's no round in the chamber. Alright, while the slide is locked to the rear, here's your takedown lever right here. Get your fingernail in there, pull that down. Pull it down all the way. Now grab the slide and we want to push to the rear and lift up at the same time. And then allow the recoil spring to push the slide off the front of the gun. And then now your recoil spring and guide rod are right here. They just pull right out of the slide. And that's really all there is to it to disassemble the SR22 for cleaning. As you can see in here, I've got some cleaning to do. That's how you disassemble this gun for cleaning. To reassemble the Ruger SR22, I did not clean this yet, but I'm just going to show you the reassembly. So before we reassemble, we want to make sure the recoil spring and guide rod are put together the right way. This spring has a small end and a slightly larger end. So the small end goes onto the guide rod first. So that's the small end, that's the larger end. Alright, now before we put the slide on, we want to cock the hammer because that's going to make it easier to put the slide on. So in order to do that, you need to put the safety in the fire position so you can now see the red. Bring the hammer back gently and it'll stay back. Okay, now take the guide rod, just put it down into the hole in the middle there. It's just going to kind of sit there for the moment. Okay, and take the slide, line up the front of the spring with the hole in the slide like that. And then line up the barrel with the bigger hole in the slide like that. And then take the whole thing, go back as far as it goes. You might have to press down slightly till it's nice and flat, and then lock the slide in place with the slide lock right here. So everything should be sitting just like that. And then take down lever, back up flush with the gun. And now you can move the slide to the rear. Slide stop will disengage and the slide will close. Take the safety, put it in the safe position, and that's going to decock the hammer. Now your firearm is ready for a function and safety check. I'll put the link to that video up in the corner and down in the description. If you found this video helpful, please hit like below, and thanks for watching. Today we're going to disassemble, clean, lubricate, and reassemble a Ruger SR22. This is a rimfire 22 long rifle pistol. What we're going to use to clean this gun is just some simple stuff. I'm going to use some rags, which is actually a cut up t-shirt. I'm going to use my favorite CLP, which is original gun oil. This is non-toxic, non-staining. I don't have to use gloves when I use it. I'm going to use a gun brush, any kind of brush, even a toothbrush will do. We're going to clean the barrel with a bore snake. I'm going to use some Hoppy's No. 9 gun bore cleaner, which is a really good solvent. I like to put it in a Menda pump dispenser. This pumps up just a little at a time and keeps the rest from getting contaminated. We're going to use cotton swabs, these dual-ended cotton swabs. They have a pointy end and a regular end. The pointy end's really good for getting into the slide cuts on a semi-automatic. Alright, so let's get started. First, always unload, make sure the magazine is out, lock the slide to the rear, make sure there's no rounds in the chamber. While the slide is locked to the rear, we're going to flip down the takedown lever, which is right here. Bring that down all the way. The Ruger SR22, grab the slide. We're going to go to the rear and lift up at the same time and allow it to slide off the front of the gun. Here you have your recoil spring and guide rod. These can also be separated for cleaning purposes. And that's all the disassembly that's needed. The barrel is a fixed barrel. You can take the barrel out if you need to. There's a screw under here so you pull the barrel out. Okay, so now that we have the gun apart, basically all we're going to do is wipe it down. We're going to remove any debris, clean up any carbon, then we're going to coat it with some CLP, original gun oil, just to let it work a little bit and clean up all the carbon deposits. Then we're going to do a very light lubrication, then we're going to put it back together. If you look real close here, you can see little pieces of lead because the 22 ammunition that we were using is lead. It's not coated with copper, so it's going to leave little lead deposits in there. So we're going to get all that out of there. Same thing with the slide. It's not bad, but you can see it's starting to build up. So we're just going to wipe all that down. So I'm just going to start with a cotton cloth and just get all the bigger pieces of debris off of there. Real quick cleaning there. Real quick clean up the slide a little. Important to get this breech face here. I'm just going to put a drop or two of CLP in here. I'm just going to take the brush and kind of spread that around a little bit. The idea here is just to coat the surfaces with some cleaner and let it sit, kind of loosen up any extra dirt. Get a little cleaner there. I'm going to put a little cleaner on the guide rod. Just going to spread that around real good. Just put a little bit on the spring. I'm going to do the same here. I'm just going to put a drop right there. I'm going to put a drop in this area. I'm going to put a couple of drops right down the barrel. I'm just going to use a cotton swab to kind of spread that oil in there a little bit. Put a little bit more on there. I just want to get a little oil inside the barrel to let it start loosening up those deposits in there. Spread the oil around a little. Get down in there. Just a little coating of cleaner. Now I'm just going to let the cleaner sit for a few minutes and work. Alright, now that the cleaner has been sitting for a few minutes, I'm going to start with the slide. I'm just going to wipe the cleaner off as best I can. Next, I'm going to use the brush to kind of force the cloth down into the little nooks and crannies in here and into the slide cuts. This really helps get down in all the little tight spaces. Any place that you still need to get in here, we use our cotton swab. Just clean all the surfaces that you can get to. Just keep using cotton swabs until you've cleaned it up real good. One really important place to check and make sure it's clean is right underneath this piece here. This is called the extractor. This is what removes your fired empty brass after a bullet is fired to get it out of the way for the next round to be loaded into the chamber. That is where it grabs the edge of the brass and extracts it from the chamber. So that's very important that it's clean. Also this area here, this is called the breech face. This is your firing pin that comes out and fires the round. So this area needs to be clean. You don't want to get any oil down in the firing pin area because that can bog it up and keep that pin from moving freely. So this looks like it's pretty clean. Okay, let's move on. We're just going to wipe the guide rod off real good. That's super easy to clean. Recoil spring, same thing. Just wipe it off. And now the frame, we're going to do the same thing. Wipe it off with your rag first, best you can. Get the outside of the barrel. We're going to clean the inside of the barrel next. Okay, now use the brush to push the cloth into the tight areas and get down inside the grip. Do the best you can to get it nice and clean, and get your cotton swabs. Get in there in all the little places you couldn't get. Just get everything real nice and clean. Take your time here. Make sure you get all the little spots. Try not to leave any strands of cotton from the cotton swabs down inside the mechanism anywhere. Take a cloth, kind of push it through the grip, and that'll get any dirt down inside the grip area. Alright, looks pretty clean. And now we're going to clean the inside of the barrel. Alright, there's a lot of ways to clean the inside of the barrel. I'm going to show you two ways that I typically use. We placed some oil in here earlier that loosened some of the dirt up. What I normally would do is just take a bore snake. This one's a 22 caliber bore snake, so this is the right size. We're going to run a bore snake through the barrel a couple of times. Using a bore snake is the quickest, easiest, and least messy way to clean your barrel. The bore snake has copper brushes built into it, so that will help loosen any buildup that's in there. So we always want to put it through the same way the bullet travels. So you just drop it in. I'll do it this way. Just pull it through. It's going to be snug, which is good. Once the brushes go through, then the rest of this rope material is just going to really wipe everything nice and clean. I will typically run the bore snake through 2 or 3 times and call it a day. Kind of see the edge of that barrel and how clean and shiny that is. So that's all you need to do. However, if you really want to give your barrel a super cleaning, this is another way to do it. This is called the rod and patch method. Okay, if you want to use the rod and patches method and solvent to clean the inside of your barrel, you're going to need a few extra items. You're going to need some kind of a rod with a jag or a loop like this on the end, a brush appropriate for 22 caliber. This hook should also be appropriate for 22 caliber. You're going to need 22 caliber size patches. You can get them in bags like this. And of course, your Hoppe's number 9, either right out of the bottle or you can put it in a dispenser like this. I'll link this down in the description, all this stuff. Some gloves would be a good idea. Make sure you have lots of paper towels. This method is messy, but it is going to do an outstanding job getting your bore clean. Alright, so to use this method, first you want to get a patch, put it through the loop here, get some solvent, pretty soaked with solvent. You want to put the hammer down. You have to put the safety on and put the hammer down so you can get a straight shot through the barrel. Alright, and then just gently push this through. Get another patch, repeat the procedure. All we're trying to do right now is soak the inside of the barrel with the Hoppe's number 9 solvent. Let it start doing its work. So after we do that, we're going to let it sit for a few minutes. Alright, while it's sitting, we're going to take the loop off and we're going to put on our 22 caliber bronze or copper brush. And after it's been a few minutes, you want to get a little bit of solvent on this brush. Gently but firmly push the brush through the barrel, in and out a couple of times. And this is going to really loosen up any of the dirt that's in there. After that, we're going to take this back off. We're going to put the jag back on, take another couple of patches, solvent on them, push a couple of patches through. We're going to put one more wet patch through here. Once we put a bunch of wet patches through, now we're just going to put dry patches through to clean everything up on the inside of the barrel until they come out perfectly clean. Alright, this looks pretty clean and pretty dry. Alright, I'm going to call it a clean barrel right now. I think we're done with that. Okay, now if you're not going to fire your gun for a while, or if you're going to store it for a little while, lastly for the barrel, you're going to want to put a very small amount of oil on a patch and just run it through the barrel one time, just to get the slightest little corrosion protection on the inside of the barrel. Now when you go to take it to the range, before you shoot the gun, take a dry patch and push it through there just to remove any of that oil residue. After you're done cleaning the bore, wipe away any solvent that you might have gotten onto the gun. Right, now we're going to lubricate the gun. You hardly need any lubrication for this gun. The user manual calls for a very light coating. Just put a drop, literally like one drop on a rag, and just kind of wipe these rails here. This is where the slide goes back and forth, and just kind of get some oil down inside and all the moving parts. Just a little bit like that. Maybe a little bit on the outside of the barrel, and also on the slide itself. Just a small amount. Just wipe the rails back here. Wipe down in here and inside this area. Kind of get all the external surfaces just with a little residue of oil, so all the metal against metal. Guide rod, quick wiping of that with a little, maybe run the recoil spring through there, and that's about it. Now your gun is ready to be reassembled. To reassemble the Ruger SR22, first thing you want to do is make sure that your hammer is back. So to do that, you want to put the safety in the fire position, push the hammer back so that it is out of the way. Take your recoil spring and guide rod. The recoil spring has a smaller end and a slightly larger end. The smaller end goes onto the guide rod, and then there's a hole right underneath the barrel, and that is where that goes. Make sure that's seated right in the hole. Take your slide, line up the smaller hole in the front of the slide with the recoil spring, and line up the larger hole with the barrel, and then slide it on. Go back as far as it goes. Press down slightly, activate your slide stop lever to lock it so it locks back like that. Make sure the slide is nice and straight, lined up with the frame, and then take down the lever, goes back up, make sure that's all the way up, and now you can move the slide back, release the slide stop, and allow the slide to come forward like that. Now just work the slide a few times, make sure it feels right, and now put your safety in the safe position. Your hammer will decock automatically. It's also a decocking lever, and now you are good to go. Next, you're going to want to, at the very least, give your magazine a visual inspection, make sure it looks good, but I will have a video linked in the description for how to take the magazine apart and clean that up as well. Very important, your next step with your SR22 is to go through the function and safety verification. I'll put a link up here when that video is ready, and I'll link it down in the description as well. You want to go through that procedure to make sure your gun is put together properly and all the functions and safeties are working properly. Alright, if you like this video, please hit like below, please subscribe, and please check out the links in the description below. Thanks for watching. Okay, this is the Ruger SR22 function and safety check. First, we want to verify that the gun is empty, no magazine, no round in the chamber. We want to close the slide, put the gun on safe. The first check is going to be the function of the slide. So with the unloaded gun, no magazine in the chamber, the safety in the fire position, and the slide closed all the way. First thing we want to do is test the slide. We want to pull it all the way back and let go 2 times to make sure it closes completely on its own under the recoil spring tension. Now insert an empty magazine into the gun, pull the slide to the rear. Slide should lock back. Should always lock back on an empty magazine. Now remove the magazine. The slide should stay to the rear, and then pull it back one more time, and it should release. Okay, now we're going to check the function of the manual safety and the magazine disconnect. Alright, so with the magazine removed, safety in the fire position, we want to make sure that the hammer is back. So if it's not, just rack the slide one time to make sure the hammer is back. When you press the safety to the safe position, the hammer should release. It should decock itself, as that did. And now, if you take the slide, move it back, and release it. Okay, after the slide falls, the hammer should remain in the decocked position. Now, press the safety to the fire position, pointing the gun in a safe direction. Press the trigger. It should not reset. Nothing should happen, and the hammer should not move in any way. Keeping the safety in the fire position, we want to cock the hammer manually and attempt to pull the trigger. It should still not fire. Take an empty magazine, insert it into the gun, point it in a safe direction, press the trigger, and it should fire. Now hold the trigger all the way to the rear, release it fully, allowing it to reset, and with the hammer down, which it is, press the trigger and it should cock the hammer and fire, pointed in a safe direction. Okay. Keeping the trigger pulled to the rear, cycle the slide one time. You'll need to hold the slide stop down, otherwise it's going to lock open. Rack it one time to cock the hammer, and then you can release the slide stop now. And now we just want to slowly release the trigger. It should move forward. You should hear and feel a reset. Felt that there. The hammer should not fall and remain in the cock position. Now move the manual safety to safe. The hammer should fall back into the decocked position. Now attempt to pull the trigger. The trigger should move rearward, and when you release it, it should reset to the forward position when you let go. Alright, so that completes the function and safety check of the Ruger SR22, and you are now ready to go to the range. If you found this video helpful, please hit like below, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Ruger SR22 magazine disassembly, cleaning, and inspection. Anytime you clean your Ruger SR22, you also want to give a little attention to the magazines. Magazines are one of the most common causes of malfunctions in a semi-automatic handgun. So first we're going to inspect the magazine, then we're going to disassemble it if necessary and clean it up, reassemble it, and then we're going to test it to make sure it's functioning. I'm going to use some A-Zoom dummy rounds here to test the function of the magazine. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you want to do is just visually inspect the magazine. Check for damage, dents, dings. Make sure there isn't any dirt or gravel that has gotten inside your magazine after a day at the range. So if you find that you need to take your magazine apart because it's dirty or there's some gravel inside or it just doesn't seem to be working well, all you need to do is take the magazine, get a pin punch or something like this. Even a cotton swab would probably work. Press down in the bottom here, there's a pin, Just press it down a little bit and you'll be able to push the base plate or floor plate right off of the magazine. Now before you do this, you're going to want to get some eye protection because there is a spring here, and as soon as you pop this off, it's going to want to throw things at you. Put your thumb over top, pull the floor plate or base plate off, and you see you got some spring action here. So this is called the spring seat. Then your spring pulls right out, and then now you can slide the follower to the bottom, and this little button on the side, it's only on one side, that's going to pop out once you align it with this hole at the bottom, and then the follower will come out all the way. So all we need to do now, if your magazine is dirty, just wipe all the pieces down with a cloth. If it's really, really dirty, you can use a little original gun oil or some kind of a CLP that is not, I would not use a harsh cleaner, just a gun oil or something like that, because you don't want to put anything in here that might rust the inside of your magazines later. So a strong solvent is probably not advised. Just wipe every piece down with or without the oil. If you use oil, make sure you wipe it all off at the end. All right, what I like to do to get the inside of any magazine, just kind of push a rag through there a couple of times, and that'll clean the inside and pull out any dirt or gravel that has gotten in there. And then next we want to reassemble. Okay, to put the magazine back together, this is the front of the magazine, and your follower is going to go in like this. Line up the hole in the follower with this round hole at the bottom here. Alright, so now you want to put your magazine button in. It can go in either side depending on how you like it, but it goes in this way. So it goes in like that. Alright, now you can put your finger on that to kind of hold things in place. Then your magazine spring goes on this pin right here, and then you can use the spring to kind of push everything up. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over. They call this the spring seat. Goes in like this, and be very careful pressing this in here, because if you let go, that thing's going to launch across the room. Alright, then hold it down with your thumb. Get your base plate or your floor plate. Make sure this is the front of the magazine. Alright, and line that up. Slide it on like that. And the notches in the slots there, and of course you can't get it past this pin until you push this pin down. So just push it down a little bit, slide this on, and it'll click in place. And then you won't be able to pull that off. Now if it doesn't click in place, it's probably that plastic piece is crooked. So you can just get in here with a pin punch or something and kind of fiddle with it until it pops into place, or you can just take it off and try again. Alright, so now you have the magazine put back together. Make sure it feels right, that it's nice and smooth up and down. Now what I like to do is load a few dummy rounds in there, these A-Zoom snap caps. I will put 5 dummy rounds into the magazine. Then I will verify that my Ruger SR22 does not have any live rounds in it, or any rounds at all. I'll insert the dummy rounds into it. And now I'm just going to simulate firing the gun by racking the slide briskly 5 times, and each time I rack the slide, one of the dummy rounds should be ejected from the gun, and after the 5th time the slide should lock back because the magazine will be empty at that point. So we want to take it off of safe, and we're going to simulate firing the gun. Alright, that worked perfectly, and now I'm confident my magazines are great and my firearm is working properly. If you found this video helpful, please hit like below, please subscribe, and please check out the description and maybe pick up some dummy rounds of your own. Thanks for watching.